Some of them relished both the adulation they received from supporters and the dismay of critics, who proved ineffectual in stemming public attention to the Times's splash. It quickly became clear that the 1619 project was a lot more than the initial publication of the magazine and the newspaper supplement. It was, and still is, a project in the fullest sense of the term. The Pulitzer Center partnered with the Times to plant a 1619 project curriculum in the nation's schools. Nicole Hannah-Jones, the architect of the 1619 project and author of its lead essay, went on a nationwide speaking tour and was met by friendly audiences. The Times not only heavily advertised the project, it seeded themes from the project in hundreds of news stories and columns. It added a podcast devoted to the project, and it used its weekly online newsletter, Race Related, to stoke the fire. Given the Times's status as the nation's newspaper of record and the lodestar for other news organizations, 1619 project themes and conceits began to appear everywhere in the nation's press, with or without explicit mention of the project itself. The larger aim of the 1619 project is to change America's understanding of itself. Whether it will ultimately succeed in doing so remains to be seen, but it certainly has already succeeded in shaping how Americans now argue about key aspects of our history. The 1619 project aligns with the views of those on the progressive left who hate America and would like to transform it radically into a different kind of nation. Such a transformation would be a terrible mistake. It would endanger our hard-won liberty, our self-government, and our virtues as a people. Little is to be gained, however, by progressives and conservatives lobbing boulder-sized principles back and forth across the line that divides them. Instead, this book explores the 1619 project as a cultural phenomenon, a testimony to the beliefs and ambitions of one faction. That I do not share these beliefs and ambitions gives me the freedom to consider them from angles that the project's adherents might not entertain. That freedom also allows me to examine criticisms of the 1619 project coming from many whose premises I don't share: hardcore Marxists, liberal statists, hardcore free market advocates, and Southern apologists, among others. My own views, which I have presented in other books and articles, are of a mildly conservative and traditionalist sort. I regard the primary values of our nation as stated clearly in the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, namely, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. On matters of race, I uphold the principle that our Constitution and our laws should be colorblind, and that our society should strive for the common good, which is best achieved by treating one another as individuals, not as representatives of identity groups. We do, however, have the freedom to form our own communities and to enjoy shared cultural affinities. Race, in that sense, is not likely to disappear any time soon in a general cultural amalgamation. People will separate and divide themselves as often as people will appropriate from the cultural traditions of others. There is nothing sinister in either impulse. But this leaves open the question of how racist and how oppressive American society really is. I believe there is abundant exaggeration on both left and right, much of it driven by politics. Some exaggerate the degree to which racism pervades American society. Some exaggerate the degree to which racism is a thing of the past that contemporary America has moved beyond. It is very difficult for most Americans to avoid exaggerating in one direction or the other. If you have experienced overt racism or seen it up close, it is likely to loom very large in your assessment of the nation. If you have not experienced racism firsthand, it is likely to appear to you to be merely a talking point for those who